All right, when you do games for the Eli Sports Network, you're going to get a bag of gear. In that bag of gear, you will have your mixer, power strip. Power strip is already plugged in the wall behind me. You'll also get a box of cords and wires, and it'll have some other things in there. I'll explain that. Your camera, computer, very important to have the computer. Tripod, extension cords, and one of those is usually this 3-prong one. That works best with your camera. It's easier to plug in the camera into that off of this little hook on the bottom. I'll show you that. And headsets. Most gear will have 2. If you have your own, great. If not, we'll at least provide 2 of them for you. Also, other things that are in the gear would be binoculars or a hotspot if you need it. There will also be Ethernet cords depending on where you're at, but we know which sites need Ethernet cords. So once that's out of the way, you're ready to set up. Setup is easy. Start off with the mixer. So the mixer is the Mackie. That's the one that you're mainly going to have. That is what most sets get here. So the Mackie mixer has the elbowed end. That's how you can tell it apart from the amp power. So you can plug the Mackie mixer in the back. Once it's plugged in, lights come on. That's how you know it is on and working. Once you get the mixer plugged in, plug the amp in. The amp, this goes into the input. It's the double-pronged, different colors, but easy to tell. Goes into the input, and that goes into phones in the corner. Once that's in, then you plug in the amp power. Again, looks kind of similar to the power pack for the mixer, but it has the straight plug that goes to the amp. It goes into the 12-volt socket. Only place that it can possibly plug in, so that makes it a little more noticeable. That's in and on. Here is your computer power cord as well. You can plug that in, get your computer up and running probably as quick as possible when you get there. That's normally the first thing you open, but for this, it's not that important to have it up and running and ready to go. So with that, computer plugged in and good. Oop, other side. Computer is plugged in. The only other thing that you're going to have to plug in, you're going to have to plug in your camera. Let's set up the tripod. Look at how hard that was. And you have your camera. There are multiple different cameras that we have. We have Sony's, Panasonics. We have 2 different kinds of Panasonics. This one is one of the Panasonics. And on most of the tripods, if you're just getting it for the very first time, the top will be on the tripod already. Pull the top off, screw in the bottom. Easy. Camera is on the tripod. Power for the camera. And again, this is one of those that why it is important to have this little small 3-prong. You plug this in most of the stands that you're in a gym or in the stands, it's 10 foot. It's right there on the bottom hook of this tripod. And you can plug that in, and that gives your camera power And then you can charge your phone, something else in that as well. Makes it a little bit easier to get that done. You don't need this extension cord right now, so I'm gonna get it out of the way. Don't need the camera bag or the binoculars, so those can go. Now that everything is cleared off, we're gonna plug in the headset. Now, the headset goes in whichever one that you are going to be in. It's usually best to sit behind where you're plugged in. If you're in the one slot, kind of be lined up behind that. Usually that is going to be the main play-by-play. Then you plug in to the amp. Again, this on the amp controls the sound to everybody. This that you're plugged into controls the sound in your head. So if you need to be louder, that's the one to get it into your ears. Other thing that you're going to have to worry about, StarTech. StarTech is very important. This is the video capture device. This is what allows the camera to go through the computer and get going into that. The blue cord. Why it's called the blue cord? You look inside, the blue lining is in there. That's why we call it the blue cord. Plugs into the front. And this goes into the USB, goes into the side under the plug-in, the cord plug on the computer. That is very important. That is the side that it has to go in order for it to work. There's that. You'll see that the StarTech has this. That stays plugged in at all times. You don't want to pull it out. There are very fine gold prongs in there, and they're very easily broken, so we leave that plugged in all the time. Thus, the case helping to keep you able to do that. Red to red, white to white. Red to red, white to white. And then that goes in the out, which is just under the phone's port. Again, red to red, white to white. Now you're good to go. Once you get your headset and your mixer set up, slide the bar all the way to the bottom, because then nobody can hear your conversations going on while you're talking about things before games, trying to get pronunciations. Then you don't have to worry about anybody hearing your conversations. The other things that you're going to need, the other thing that you're going to need to do is actually get the camera up. Open the camera. Once it's charged up a little bit, you'll have a HDMI to HDMI micro, HDMI mini, or an HDMI to HDMI, depending on which camera you have. But most of our cameras are to the micro, the HDMI micro. It plugs into the camera and into the front of the StarTech. And there you have it. Everything is set up and ready to go for your broadcast. The only other thing that you need to note with the setup of the mixer, all of these dials and knobs, the blue ones all need to be straight up and down to you on whichever line you're using. The yellow ones go all the way down to the 00, because you don't need them. That'll put echo on your broadcast. You don't need that to happen. The grays stay straight up and down, and the white one at the very bottom is your volume that you're speaking through. This also helps. Slider bar goes about to the 0. Kind of, you can juggle around depending on who is on the broadcast. Some people speak louder than others, so that's something that you'll just figure out on the fly. But this is what controls the audio that is coming out of your mic. That's very helpful. And there's the setup. Now that the setup's over, let's break it all back down. Easiest way to do that, once you're done, closed, ready to get things off of the air, unplug everything from the computer. Blue cord comes out. Remember, this one does not come out. Just like that. Put that in the box. Then the amp goes on top of it. Everything unplugs from the amp. These cords out of the mixer. And into the box. We provide the box for everybody. The only one that doesn't go back in, the camera all goes in its own separate bag, and that is just to keep the camera kind of from jostling around in your bag. This is not the most expensive equipment, but it's still not cheap, so we want to keep it around as long as possible to not have it break on us. So if you could, it would be nice to have that put back properly. So with that, camera bag, roll that up, put it in the bottom of the camera bag. You can close the camera. Don't unplug the camera first. Close it, because then the shutter on the front will close as well. Some of the cameras have a manual shutter. Please shut it when you're putting it back into the case. You can unplug now. Take it off of the tripod. If this is your set of gear, you don't have to take the bottom off of the tripod. You can just leave it right on the camera because you're going to be using it again fairly soon. Unplug the power. That also goes into the little bag with the camera in it. You can zip that up. Camera all put away and good. After that, blue cord from the StarTech goes in the bag. Power from the mixer. And power from the amp go in. Now you can either put the power from the computer right by the computer, but if there's room, and there usually is room in the box, that is also an easy thing to do. It keeps it kind of out of the way and easy to get to. You know where the computer cord is, and kind of keeps the bag a little bit cleaner. With that, everything is in the box. Ta-da! All right. So let's pack back up. Start off, tripod. It is the easiest, most awkward thing in there. It's kind of big. Tripod. This controls tilt. Just untwist it and it makes it loose. Goes straight down. There, now you can't pull it out. Stays in place. Along the back, computer on the bottom. Just because the computer is long and simple, nothing's going to really hurt it. Then put the box in. Amp goes on top of the mixer goes on top of the box. From there, headset. How I do the headset, pull it tight, just wrap it around the top. There's a headset, wrapped up, easy to go. That back in the bag, second headset, as you can see, already wrapped up, stays in place, easy to do that. Camera, back in, extension cords, back in, and then power strip. Back into the bag. Zip up, and you're good to go. So there is how to put together and take apart ESN gear.